Most of what gets written about buying a home in Washington, DC is recycled. The same 3 programs, rewritten every year by people who have never actually put a buyer through one. This one is different because it barely exists in writing yet. The DC Housing Finance Agency launched a program called HomeAdvantage DC on May 11th, 2026. And here's how quiet it still is. DCHFA's own explainer video for it has about 8 views. 8. So you're early. That's an advantage, and I'll show you why. But I'm also going to give you the rule that disqualifies more people than anything else in the program. And it's not your credit, and it's not your down payment. It's whose income counts. I'm Ronnie, licensed real estate agent in DC and Maryland. Let's get into it. HomeAdvantage DC is run by DCHFA, the DC Housing Finance Agency, not the same agency as HPAP, which is DHCD. 2 different agencies, 2 different programs, and you can be having conversations with both. What HomeAdvantage DC gives you is a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at a below market rate. And depending on which version you take, down payment assistance on top of it. Now, here's the first thing almost every write-up gets wrong. People say HomeAdvantage DC gives you 3.5%. That's not accurate. There are actually 3 different versions of this program, and which one you land in changes what you get. Option 1, a standard first mortgage, 30-year fixed, below market rate, and no down payment assistance at all. That sounds like a strange thing to want until you realize what it's for. Somebody who already has their down payment handled from savings or a gift and just wants the cheaper rate for 30 years. That's a real buyer, and this is a real option. Option 2, conventional loan, 30-year fixed, plus up to 3% of the purchase price in down payment assistance. Option 3, FHA or VA loan, 30-year fixed, plus up to 3.5% in down payment assistance. So the 3.5% number that gets thrown around, that's the FHA and VA version specifically. On conventional is 3. And if you're a veteran, notice that VA is on that list. VA plus down payment assistance is a combination a lot of people never knew existed. All 3 are subject to income limits and purchase price limits. Let's talk about both because the price limits are going to surprise you. Now, when people hear down payment assistance program, they picture a low purchase price cap, something that quietly pushes you out of half of the city. Not here. Under the federal guidelines this program follows, the purchase price limits are up to $1,306,974 in a non-targeted area, and in a targeted area up to $1,597,413. 1.3 million, 1.6 in a targeted area. Let that sit for a second because it changes who this program is for. This is not a program that limits you to the cheap properties in the district. For the overwhelming majority of buyers in DC, the price cap is simply not going to be your constraint. Your income and your credit will be, and we're getting to both. Now, the part I built this video around, because this is where people get a nasty surprise at underwriting. The income limit on this program is not based on your income. It is based on your household income, and DCHFA is specific about this. It counts the income of every occupant 18 years and older, not just the borrowers. Every adult who is going to live in that home. Think about what that means in practice. You're buying a place and your adult son is moving in with you. His income counts. Your mother is moving in. Her income counts. You've got a roommate, a partner who isn't on the loan, a sibling staying with you while they get on their feet. All of it counts if they're 18 or over and they're living there. I want to be really clear about why this matters because it cuts both ways. On one hand, people get disqualified by this without seeing it coming. They run their own numbers, they look fine, and then the household number comes in and they're over the limit. On the other hand, this is exactly the kind of thing you want to know before you fall in love with a house, because you may be able to structure who is actually on the occupancy differently. The limits themselves are RMB income limits, mortgage reverse bond limits, and they vary by household size and occupancy. I'm not going to read you dollar figures on camera because those tables get revised and a stale number in a video does real damage. Get the current limit for your household size from a DCHFA participating lender or reach out to me and I'll get it for you. Now, 2 more gates. Credit, minimum score, 660. 660. That is higher than some of the other district programs. And I want to say that plainly because I'd rather you know now than find out after you've gotten your hopes up. If you're sitting at a 640, this specific program is not your program today. But DC opens doors and HPAP have their own criteria. So you're not completely out of options. That's a different conversation and I'm happy to have it. Next, debt to income. The ceiling is 50% and there's a wrinkle on FHA. If you're going FHA above 45% DTI, you need one of the HUD approved compensating factors. That means either documented cash reserves equal to or at least 3 monthly mortgage payments or a minimal increase in your housing payment, meaning the new payment doesn't exceed what you're paying now by more than $100 or 5%, whichever is less, backed by a 12-month payment history with no more than 1 30-day late. And note, that one doesn't work if you don't currently have a housing payment or residual income. If that sounded like a lot, it is, and that's the point. That's underwriting language, and it's exactly why the lender you pick matters on this program. Now to the eligibility. It's open to first-time home buyers with exceptions in targeted areas. There's 2 things here. First, first-time buyer almost never means what people think. In program language, it generally means you haven't held an ownership interest in a principal residence in the last 3 years. Sold a place 4 years ago? For most program purposes, you're a first-time home buyer all over again. I watch people rule themselves out on this constantly. Second, and this is the interesting one, in federally targeted areas, that first-time buyer requirement can be waived. Targeted areas are specific census tract designated under federal law. Now, here's what makes that practically important. It's determined by address, not by neighborhood, not by ward, by the specific property. 2 homes a few blocks apart can land on opposite sides of that line. And remember, being in a targeted area also raises your purchase price cap from $1.3 million to $1.6 million. So if you're a repeat buyer who assumed you were out, the address might change that answer. Do not eyeball this off of a map. Have your lender check the specific property. The property has to be in the District of Columbia and you have to live in it as your primary residence. Eligible property types are single-family homes, attached or detached, condominiums, and townhomes. Condos being on that list matters a lot in DC. Now, the loan types are conventional, FHA, and VA, and a home buyer education may be required, so don't leave that to the last week. DCHFA's own instructions on getting started are 2 steps. 1, register for and attend their monthly 2-part home buyers webinar. That's where the in-depth details lives. 2, find an approved DCHFA participating lender to determine your eligibility. Not any lender, a participating one. And one honest caveat about being early. This program is only a few months old. Details on new programs get refined in the first year. DCHFA's own page say the requirements are subject to change without notice. So treat everything I just gave you as a map and confirm the terrain with a lender before you commit to a price range. So here's the summary. Brand new DC program, below market, 30-year fixed, 3 versions, no assistance, 3% conventional, 3.5% FHA or VA, 660 credit, price caps north of 1.3 million, and an income test that counts every adult in the house. If you want to know whether you clear the household income limit or whether a specific DC address falls in a targeted area, that's exactly the kind of thing I check for people. Free eligibility check is linked in the description, or just call or text me directly. My information is always down below. Being early on a program like this is an advantage. It doesn't last. I'll see you in the next one, and thanks for watching.